Hello, this is Brian Whitten and ET Art. I did say I was going to have a rest from making some videos, but I thought it best to come back and add another one to the list because of events, I guess, and the other things that have happened around the globe. I wanted to start with this image before I go on. If you are a young child and able to understand what I'm saying, and anywhere like upwards of 8, 9, 10, could you please go and get your mum and dad and have them watch this video, please? It's just a verbal warning. I would prefer you go get your mum and dad to watch it, and then if they say it's okay, and watch it. For the rest of you, what we're going to do here, I'll start it off with this image, is because this is in actual fact a rock that we put under in 4 Rocks Part 3. And I will show you this rock. It is not a big rock. That is what you're seeing now is only the microscope light. There is no external light on that. The vision you are seeing here, that pyramid there, is really easy to see, and I cannot understand nor believe for a minute that out of all the rocks I pick up, and even under a natural normal microscope like this, albeit I know we don't go down, they would be going down far closer to that rock normally from a geological sense. I still do find it difficult to believe that there is every geologist on the entire Earth's surface has not seen anything unnatural on a rock, or anything that is certainly not of natural, a natural creation. I cannot believe, with what I've shown you on all the rocks, that that is the case, because that is where we are at, natural fact. We are in a situation like that, made even more so by the fact that I have contacted many people that are geologists and have not even heard so much as a beep. And that tells me they knew full well a lot of this stuff was on our rocks already. Now that rock you're looking at, and the part of your rock you're looking at is this rock here, and the part you're looking at is this little chip that's on the side. Right there is the chip that you're seeing in the corner of that, right? I just wanted to let you know that first, and then we'll look at this. Now that is the same part of the rock with the light used that is external. You are now seeing the parts that you're not able to see without having moved the lighting from the side. And I said to you in my last video that we are seeing, what are we seeing here? A bull. So we are saying that the being that is shown, I will get to that in a minute, the being that is shown when I move the light around here is coming from a planet. It revolves around this star in the star sign Taurus. Does star sign Taurus look like that? That is the star sign Taurus. I will go through a few. As you can see, it is very similar, isn't it, to the sign that we have on the rock. So he is saying to us he comes from a planet that revolves around one of those stars in the centre of that there. I'll go back to the rock, and as you can see it does match exactly the same, and that is highlighted. And why is it highlighted? To tell you that's the star. It's one of those centre stars in the sign of Taurus, and that is the man who built our pyramids, which is why he's got the pyramid there. That is who built your pyramids. We found out off a little rock that we picked up out of a river many years ago. Our history lesson does not end there though. I'll show you something else. I've moved that film along a little bit now so we can see our man here who has told us. What has he told us? He's got the star signs Taurus here. He's got Taurus there, cow. We know the same thing exists at the pyramids. The pyramid is here. drawn on the same rock, I believe he's not telling us where he's from. Now I've moved that video along just a little bit more, just so we can see his face a little bit better here. I also want you to take note of what you're actually seeing here, because you've got a man on his knees here, kneeling down with a spirally wavy effect coming from whoever it is that's sitting back here in the dark. That's what you see there. That could probably mind control could be an issue. Excuse the banging, but it's very, very windy outside. We could do with some rain with the wind. But I wanted to stop here because I wanted you to see that what you're seeing is his face transformed from that, which is his large, skulled, intelligent being. What do we get when we move on from there as a dinosaur wearing glasses? Before I go on, I will say one thing. I would imagine our leaders did get a warning. Some things that I've learnt from the messages on the rocks, some things I've learnt from living on the planet, I would think when I look at the nuclear tests that were done in the 60s in Australia, the bombing in Japan, carpet bombing in the areas that the carpet bomb, there are some filthy people on our planet that seem to think they can slow the planet's movement towards the plane of the sun that they knew it was heading towards, do some unspeakable things. What we're looking at here is this man's history lesson to us. And I suggest to you that what he's saying on this rock is not where he came from. He's saying to you where he went. Many, many, many millions and millions of years ago, he came from here. And this is where I believe he tells us. You watch what happens to his image here. His image there is a dinosaur with glasses on. That's that image. That is one of the dinosaurs of skulls we find on this planet, and it transforms from that into his head. It's got a reptilian eye here, which does turn into a tornado, depending on what light you have it in. That is what he's telling us there. He is telling us at that point that he lived here. He was a reptilian or a dinosaur. They were intelligent. That's why he's got a pair of glasses on that dinosaur there. I'll show you which dinosaur it is. This is not our dinosaur. He's giving us a history lesson. He is saying, I or we evolved from this dinosaur on this planet. And in the same lesson that we get here that he's giving us on the rock. So when we watch his history lesson roll past us here, he is telling us, in my opinion here, that he was from Earth. He evolved from a dinosaur, that his lineage came from a smart, intelligent dinosaur. They had a situation here where we are actually getting this lesson, we are actually learning as well why he pushes the planet out past Mars. Now I've just brought an image of the plate back up again. This was a plate that was found in America. I would expect it's a Chinese plate, they suspect, but it was found in America. I don't know where in America it was found. I guess the location in America would be because it is the time where the people that left it there knew, people that left it there being the very same people that we've just spoken of that built the pyramids, who've left their image on the rock with the pyramid in a high-tech manner that we cannot do even these days, what we are seeing just on that little rock. He's told us his history, and I believe we are getting pushed beyond the 93 million mile to the 186 million mile for a very, very good reason. 186 million miles from the sun being reflective of 186,000 miles per second, which answers one of the questions I've had. Why didn't they stop if they could go to, as they've just said. We went over there. I reckon they went there. They didn't come back from there to help us. They left. So in other words, they were already in a situation where they may very well have had interstellar travel at the point in time that it happened. But what they're saying, placing the planet at 186,000 miles from the sun, they're saying, we didn't see it happen. We didn't see it coming. What came and what caused the problem with the stars in the very first instance that flicked the other star out, we didn't see it coming. It was beyond the speed of light, which is why they put the planet there at 186,000 miles from the sun, which is our light. That's why it's like it. They didn't know it was coming. That was one of the reasons why. And the other reason, he pushes our planet out beyond Mars at 186,000 miles, telling us we are as advanced as we are, but we didn't see it coming. In the Tirumali complex in India, there is, as we've discussed in other videos, an indication, in my opinion, of the movement of the planets in the event when the other star was hurled out, as in hurled out here, a planet being taken out here, a body being created on the inner system, Venus moving out, and obviously Earth in whatever, in this instance Earth moving in, but Earth is moving out as well. It actually even shows you here why we actually get two planes of travel for the planet. This is another place other than the plate that is showing double distance away from the sun. He's doing this, and the reason this is the way it is, and the reason he still pushes it out to 186,000 miles is exactly that. He didn't see it coming. They didn't see it coming. They were an advanced race that could leave. And here is the most wondrous part of this history lesson, because it is wondrous. It really is quite an unbelievable thing to think another being, and I've already said to you that I see in their care. The people that do this, they don't need to leave a message on a rock. They can come and just take us and this planet they want, any time they want. I can tell you now, I can just tell that by looking at the rocks. The technology we're seeing in that is magnificent. But so what we're seeing here is movement of the planets here in a situation where there is a lizard that is very, very temperamental to temperature change. That's the one thing with a reptilian or a reptile. I would imagine there are many, many different types of reptile that would be the very same, so that a 2 or 3 degree change in temperature could mean that one year no females would be born, or the next year no males would be born. That sort of environment, that is obviously the sort of situation they would have found themselves in, and having the technology to go, they left and they went and found themselves another planet, and probably already were well aware that was there. They probably, like I said, had interstellar travel at the point that this happened. But even then, even being that advanced, they're saying, it still was bang, speed of light, we didn't see it coming, and that was it. And I think that's why Mercury's where it is. I actually think they put it there just purely and simply so you ask yourself, is that the thing that caused the problem? And then you start understanding why you've got the 2 rings of travel. You start asking yourself why you have that. Why do they do that? They don't have to. They could just sit in here and go backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, just going through this cycle here. There is always a reason for them doing it. And that is the reason why. Let's go back now, as we now then look at the message again that he's left us, saying exactly what happened. We were intelligent. We were a dinosaur. That's who our ancestors were. We grew into a being in a solar system that did not have the problem that we've got now, where the degrees and temperatures did not vary the way they do now. And he and his species had the ability to evolve, whereas every other species did not. And here comes the most amazing thing of the lot, because I believe he, realising he had the ability, because he had the length of time in the solar system, seems to have taken it upon himself, whether it was through guidance from somebody or another, I do not know. It would appear that he has decided to make sure that every other living thing on his planet, or type of species of being, not being, but he was going to make them a being. That seems like what's happened to me. You know, this is 200, 300 million years we could be talking. He has decided at some point, because he was so skilled at the very first point, he thought, well, why is it that every other living thing that was on Earth when it happened? Why? And he's taken it upon himself, I believe, to go through a process, having left, to give every other living thing that is on our planet a right or an ability, or at least a few attempts at becoming an intelligent being, and one of, when the days come where they make a decision, that turns into a couple of towers there to be. That's another story altogether. But that's the story. His story to us, that is his story. His story is, that's exactly what he's saying. Isn't that amazing? Now go on. It's one hell of a history lesson so far, isn't it? Listen, we've still got to go on. Like I said, it's going to be a pretty daunting video, this one. I had to give it a lot of thought of how to do it. Listen, well, what we're looking at here is a microscopic view on a rock. I do realise this, but we've also discussed this being South America, and these plumes coming out here, these white lines were never on this rock and never ever have been. I wanted you to be aware that that's what drew my attention to here, to get the light again and look at this, and then realise what I was seeing here. This has all come out. I've got this in other videos. I won't go through and let it shine. I don't want to waste too much time with that, because we've got far more important things to get to. Why would you put this on a rock and make my attention come to this, and the fact that you can steady the seas with Atlantis, a harmonic device that steadies the ocean, and do all such things? Still push the planet out to 186 million miles away from the sun, repetitively for millions upon millions upon millions of years. Do this on a rock like this. Tell me that at the time that it happened way back then, that it was inevitable, there was something that you couldn't do, that whatever it was that caused the issue was at the speed of light, and therefore you couldn't do anything about it, even though you were highly intelligent even back then. You give me all these messages, and yet you still build a pyramid way, way, way big, and give me millions of stories when you could have just flown in here. What he's telling us is there's an inevitability here about something. And I'll show you what it is. This is the inevitability I was talking about. Because in their message, that's what it's saying. It's saying, we can do all this, but we've still got this big message here. This is an inevitability of the narrow band of magnetism grabbing the core. It's not as I thought. I'm not saying we are not already experiencing shifts in the ocean already, but that, I believe, they are saying we cannot put Atlantis in place. Or even if they did, that on the east coast of Australia is inevitable. That's the inevitability of it. What I am seeing them tell us is as much as, which is why we go through, the reason we have been put through all the lessons in science or physics of the planet movement, in all the comet timing and the pyramid, all of these lessons What was the purpose of all of them? In the end, is to teach us all of the things they can do with our planet, but they are laws of nature. They are teaching us there are laws of nature that we cannot deal, that we've got nothing we can do about that. That's laws of nature, just like the laws of nature we have with our physics on our own planet. Physics beyond the planet is obviously fairly different than at least what I'm led to believe. I'm not even going to go there. I'm not a trained person in that field. I'm merely stating to you we have had these lessons. We had all of these lessons, planetary science, how the planet moved. They've been over and over. We've gone through all of these things. Why? Why is that the case? Why the lesson? The lessons are there for a reason. They were built into the pyramid here to tell us planetary motion, how the axis moved, whether it was laid like this or whether it was laid flat. There's been 1,000 lessons. One of the lessons is there are laws of nature, and neither you, nor I, nor they can do anything about them. And since the very beginning of finding this image on a rock, that's the very first one I obtained by shining my light in sideways. Only because the other microscope light wasn't working at the time. It's the only way it happened. The whole lot of this all just happened out of that. And of course the rain and weather that night that had actually blown the tent away. I want you, if you wouldn't mind, one thing I've always asked myself when I see these messages is how long they've been on these rocks for. Because if I'm pulling these rocks out of a river, these messages have been on there, for 6,000 years. Now I've just moved this a little closer again. Yeah, the question I always had was, I always saw the tidal waves and whatnot on the rocks and have always thought they were pertaining to the movement of the planet in the situation that we were talking of, the movement of the axis and so on, where in reality the message is loud and clear and big to say of inevitability of meeting the plane. And it would appear to be a few days. I'll get to that in a minute, why I say that. But I want to show you why the message is saying the problem is now. It is not a time past. The tidal waves and such things and warnings that the pyramid, the Serapeum, Ayers Rock, all the locations of the natural position of things over here, and one other natural thing which I will discuss shortly. I want you to watch, if you would, that spot again. And I am thinking here, and there are a couple of things I found on the rocks. There's two other places. There are two other places on these rocks that depict the time is now. Right? Now I know this is very, very close in, but it's pretty clear as to what you're seeing here. It is quite amazing to find this on a rock, and this was the first thing I found this night. Okay, it was one night. I just got a really inkling to get up for some reason and put the rocks in and have a look at the new rocks, and I actually stayed up. I'd sort of fallen asleep and got up. I'd sort of woken up at 12:30, and I'd sort of fallen asleep watching the telly or something, so I thought I might just put a rock in, and while I had a cup of coffee, and I ended up 4 hours later I'd stopped doing this, but it was worth the 4 hours. I think once you see the work I put in this morning when I got these images was very, very valuable information, because honestly, seriously, understand what we are seeing is our history written on these rocks, and there is advice everywhere on them. I will move on to the next part of the very same rock on the very same night's work. Now I've just moved to another portion of the same rock. Excuse me for a minute, I'm just going to press play, and I will address, and I will make note to the people listening, I will address the Prime Minister directly, Mr. Morrison, about this video. I will also send a link to your email address that I've sent multiple links to already, I want to press play here. I want you, if you would, just to watch the white line. I have to chase this around the screen a little bit. I do end up in the right spot whilst we're doing that, and whilst the screen is playing it. I will say to you that I think at this point the message is saying the catastrophe, if not managed, and I'm not saying they can't manage it, I'm saying the Atlantis thing that steadies the ocean is one thing. That is this sun's magnetic pull on the ocean. That is not the clamp of the core of the planet by the magnetic plane. It's the grabbing of the core of the planet that causes this tidal wave. That's what's going down here. And there are ways, I am believing they are showing us that, but in this message they're saying, but there's also strings attached. Okay, because I'm telling you that's the way they'll leave a message. I start, when I see this line, I start moving around a bit. You can see that there are things popping out and question marks and bits and pieces here. I start to move this around a bit, and I do actually get this. I'm letting you this happen so you can see me move this, and you know it's me coming to terms with what I was seeing in front of me, and I'm doing this as I did it. And then I started to wonder whether what I'm seeing here is actually writing, you know, and then I'm thinking maybe he's left me a message here written in alien language or something. And because I mean, I've seen this sort of thing before as a highway, you know, and that's why I came here. I thought I was going to get a highway scene, and the more I started doing things, I thought, well, that's actually not coming out like a highway. I'll move a little bit more this way and move a little bit more that way. When this gets to the right spot, I'm going to let it just get to where it is on its own, because you'll see that I haven't changed anything. You've seen the light move from A to B on its own. You've seen me move the rock, and I will explain to you what you see in the end here, sir, because it's very, you know, critical. I'll move down a little bit on the square up here, if you wouldn't mind, just for a minute. I'll just move that down a bit so we can grasp a little bit closer there. What we're seeing, sir, is another indication on the same rock of what our time period for such a thing to happen, okay? Because that's what we're seeing here. I'll just move that over for you so you can see it clearly. I want you to keep your eye on this, this, and this, and see what you are seeing, okay? I will go in a bit closer in a minute, okay, so that you can see it, but I will move this way just a bit so you can see a little bit better on the camera. I've just had a look at the camera, so if I go that way just a tad, that's easier for you to see. Comes up with my little question mark as well. Do you see what you are seeing there? What President Trump said, he said he was going to empty the sewer, and that's exactly what you're seeing, a sewer pipe, with a man working on it with a white hat on. You are seeing there, what do you think that is? I've seen that before, Mr. Prime Minister. I have not had it clear enough to show you, or anybody else, or put it in a video to try and tell you what I was seeing. And I've been thinking for a while what I was seeing was an event that was going to happen now. Okay, and then that's why I sort of did those things, you know, all at the start. So, you know, that's what I see here. It's pretty evident to me that that's very, very easy to see that that's a man standing there working at the outlet of a pipe, and there's our statue in New York Harbour, sir. That's what you're seeing there, sir. A statue in New York Harbour. That's what this one here is, sir. Right there in the middle. So, underneath the statue is a human skull, sir. Like I said, we need to talk to Mr. Trump, sir. Let him know what I'm finding out on the rocks. We need to understand what we're seeing. Now, the other thing I needed for you to see, sir, if you would, just notice what you're seeing again. Please watch it carefully, because I'm not doing this. I'm not making this appear. I'm not doing anything here. This is on the rock, sir. This is what is on the rock. It is not me tricking anything. It is me becoming aware of something and a message, and a very, very, very important message left us on this planet. We have a problem with it. They have a problem with something on the planet as well. I have a fear that they are not going to do anything, and like I said, as much as this thing now looks like a figure stick of an alien, it looked like a string before I started, didn't it? Looked like nothing. That's what happens with persistence, and I have shown some, both in talking to you, sir, and in trying to obtain these images. I want you to take note of this, because I actually start to turn this around and I realised that they even put your house there as well, sir. Now, Mr. Morrison, this is a little bit later in my night's work. I came in from another angle. I'm going to press play, and this is exactly the same place, like I said, as the message to the President. Is when you can see the top of this is the same, and the point on its tail here. Okay, now I want you, if you would, please to watch as I move that around, what it turns into. Okay, because this is the message that happens to go to you, sir, not to me. It's actually to you, which is why this is here. I put this on here. It's the other reason why, I realised what I was seeing here. And as daunting as this is, I can assure you, I start realising what I'm seeing when I twist this around here. Now here, sir, is where I start to move in. I'll magnify that for you just a tad, and I start to see the white line turn into something else again, sir. So I'll just move it just a tad, if you wouldn't mind. Be patient with me. This is where we're seeing the very same message sent to him, sent to you, sir. That's the Sydney Harbour Bridge there, broken in half, sir. This is the Kale Expressway around here. I guess you've got a building there, have you, sir? I know where the Prime Minister's house is, sir. It's Kirribilli, is that not right? Just here? Is that not correct? This is the Governor General's house here. That's what that is. That's the broken Sydney Harbour Bridge, sir. That's your place. Over here. I think that's the Governor General's office down that neck of the woods somewhere, isn't it? Or is that, around the gardens there? The Navy site? That is the very same place that I just showed you. The very same place the message to the President of America was on. The very same part of the rock, sir. I've just diverted just for a second away back to this rock, because I also wanted to suggest to you, sir, that what we may be seeing in this message here is not just number 17 as it was looking, but the likelihood that this is once again the same coast. It's the east coast of the country, or the continent. We are seeing deflections away here. The waves being deflected away. Like I said, there might be strings attached. I would suggest that the strings attached is you have to start emptying the sewer, and they will come and help divert the waves away. If you do not empty the sewer, I see the message as being, we won't come and help divert these waves away. But they have the technology, but the message is, there's strings attached, which is why that bit of string looks like the two messages, one to you and one to the President of America, sir, because that's exactly what it's doing. It's giving you two a message. That's obviously what I'm here to give you a message. Why it's me, I don't know. I do not know. I'm a persistent person. Maybe another person might have packed up long ago, having not been listened to. I will move on. Now I've just, still on the same rock, believe it or not, this is that layered rock. I'll insert a picture of it here. And I come back to the image now and suggest, and you could say, why have you stopped here? I stopped at this image because of that. And the fact that I have 3 dots in a triangle, which is very, very common, but mostly the shape of that image. I'm going to insert an image now for you. These are what are deemed to be Sumerian statues or Anunnaki statues of alien women. I wanted to show you that because as daunting as Mr. Prime Minister, the message is on that rock for you, and as daunting as the one is on the rock for President Trump. So I don't know whether this message is for me or for all of us, but I will let it play, and I'll show you why I went to this point in this video. Okay, I started to see these sort of figures here, or this one, and mostly that's what drew my attention to this part of the rock. I also saw this very dark shadow come in here, and it's things like that that really start to make you start looking in an area, and you start to twist the rock. You also see little bright bits come up like this right now, but to save you the time, I will jump ahead to the point where I want you to take note of. Now I've just jumped ahead in the video. Actually, I lied there. I had the wrong video up. I have the rock in the right position here now for us to go onwards, and I wanted to show you where the Anunnaki woman was, because now I've zoomed into a part of the rock having seen something, and I wanted to let you know where it is. So that's that part of the figure, okay? And I did say to you, any of you before that have been abducted by aliens or have people that have, you know, gone through that experience, people that are perfectly legitimate and sensible, common sense people, and yet looked upon and frowned upon as being complete fools. I will, if you wouldn't mind, watching what transpires here. I'll zoom in and show you very specific bits here. This boy here with his cowlick and his hair parted on the left side. This part of the figure here, and then this here. Okay, I want you to observe what you see, and I will start the video going. You will see a boy's face go in and out here. You'll see a man here with dark hair and obviously an olive complexion. People looking at a window here with large eyes. And you'll see Anunnaki women here in a row, all holding babies. And back here in the shadows, in here, you will have the aliens that have triangular heads. I will start the video rolling so you can watch it. And you can watch this man here. There's a man goes in and out here, the shape, or he's actually making out with a woman that is an alien. Obviously it looks like she finds him repulsive, to be honest. Looking at the face of her, she's looking away from him. That's what's happening there. Down here you see more of the women back in here. There's end up being about 3 of these in a row here. And then back here you get the aliens with the triangular heads come up. There's more observers out of windows up here as well. But you see this boy's face flash in and out quite a few times there. This is the one that actually made it a bit difficult for me to go to sleep this morning, because the night I did this, you can see these people's heads come out more visibly there. I actually found it a little bit difficult to get to sleep when I went to bed after doing this one, because I have had people tell me that somebody saw a UFO land here behind the house. You know, I don't know. I certainly do never ever remember ever being, you know, abducted by aliens or anything of that nature. I truly do not remember anything like that ever happening to me. I might just zoom in a little here You've seen enough of the boy's face. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom up and I'll just see if I can't get a little bit more interest in this part here. This is where I said to you, see the other aliens' heads in here? I only get this in the right light occasionally, like the right angle to see them. But they're the triangular head type guys. That's what I found really quite unbelievable, is that the head of these guys is like the guy in the movies, you know. You see another man's face in there as well. You'll see faces pop in and out. This is your Anunnaki lady down here with the baby in her arms. Like, I'm zoomed right in there, really quite, now you can start seeing the aliens come out a little bit better there. It's difficult sometimes to get the light correct. I just thought I would show you that, but it was really quite daunting, and I'll just zoom back out again, and once again it's a little bit easier to see the man making out with the alien there, right there. If I pause, right there you can see him here. This is his face, his nose, his eyes, sideburns, his ear, his shoulder. He's making out with this alien girl that's here. That's what's going down there. So I guess all those people that say they've been abducted by aliens have been, because the people that are here who've done this wouldn't put it here otherwise. That's a bit of a concern here. You see that? That's interesting. Got a grey's head behind it as well, just here. So I just thought I'd show you that. But anyway, like I said, it looks like there's strings attached. The sewer's to be drained. I'll just go on and show you one other thing. I just wanted to mention this. Cyclone Tracy is an event that took place in Darwin on the very same line of longitude that tilted 6,000 years ago. But that wasn't when the cyclone was. The cyclone was 47 years ago. It'll be 48 years. The length of the cycle, or at least half of the cycle, is 48,000. It is also how far you get pushed out beyond Mars. It is also the distance between here and Mars. So we are looking at, 48 there for a reason. Cyclone Tracy is deemed to be natural. So is Ayers Rock. It is on the same line of longitude. Wave Rock, we've already discussed, is 12 or 13 degrees to that line. The Uluru Monument is 12 degrees. I'm thinking that Cyclone Tracy, as natural as it was a creation of our peoples that spin our planet. I'm trying to pick a date, not stupidly and willy-nilly. I'm just using logic and common sense. This is 48 years ago, this Christmas Eve. So, we might be very, very, very close this year to this happening. I thought it was last year because of these dates, but like I said, I'm only trying my best with what I've got. I've only got what I can read off the rocks. I think they've left us a marvellous message. It would be very, very silly of us not to take heed. Well, that brings us to the end of this series of videos now. I'm absolutely certain I've completed the task that somebody gave me, but certainly I did get a task given me. When the task was, I was told, get Wilson's Rock, and it's all come from that, and I will insert it just again once more. And I had my son ask me the other day, "This is crazy, Dad." He says, "Why you? Why you?" I said, "I don't know, mate." He says, "Why me?" I said, "You're the one that found this rock in the river twice." I said, "You chucked it back in there, and 3 months later you go and find the same rock in the river. Why me?" Why me? I said, "Why you?" So listen, the last message I got off that last rock was that vision of the boy, okay, and the Anunnaki women and such things. I am absolutely certain, like I said, Mr. Prime Minister, there is a message on that rock for you. I will, a message there for President America, President Trump. There is also a message, it would appear, for others. Whether that is for me, one would wonder. I will leave this video wondering that, but maybe quietly, maybe I've had a few answers given to me as well to a couple of questions that I did not ask in those videos, but have had in my mind for quite some time. When we look at the number 17 on this rock again, sir, understand that something else that may be. I've thought it was a date. I thought it was a lot of things. It was a 17, as you can see earlier with this inserted image here. It was a 4 in Roman numerals, and it went to a 17. I would suspect 17 may be, sir, the population of Australia if you do nothing. That's what I suspect is the case. I think that's what our 17 is. You do nothing, you do not clean the swamp, and the Australian population at the end of the event will be 17 million, and you would have been personally responsible for the lack of spreading of the knowledge, passing and cleaning of the swamp. You will have been personally responsible for the deaths of over 8 million Australian people, sir. So, like I said, that's why I'm addressing you directly. That is exactly what the message says. You want me to push this message on the back of a trailer? I am not a silly man. I understand the reason for government, but I also understand the reason for good government, because without good government, government that is like ours is at the moment is certainly not benefiting the people, and the people that look after our planet certainly are not protecting the coasts of both America and Australia. Now I will say at this point, I'll insert an image off the rock again. Be aware that we are looking at a sewer pipe, a man working on it, and a skull underneath the Statue of Liberty. So he needs to be spoken to if he hasn't already, and the sewer needs to be drained, and there are strings attached. It is a very, very, very clear message. I do understand, Mr. Prime Minister, that you are new into the seat. I have no idea what side of the fence you're on. I can assure you that what they say is going to happen will, and you will be personally responsible, like I said, for the deaths of somewhere between 6 and 8 million Australian people if you do nothing. That is maybe what, the 17 million, that sounds about right. If you're talking about sweeping everybody off the east coast of Australia in one go. The waves will be huge. They will go to Penrith. That is what I'm seeing. The situation is this. You are in a position, I am in a position, I do understand your position, I do understand we need government and good government. I do understand what has happened in the past, but I also know we have to move forward, and you have to go and start making noise. I also do understand the difficulty of past times, making your move there, even if you are on the right side of the fence, extremely difficult. Listen, the way I look at it is like this. That'll take care of itself. That is not the important thing. We need to move forward. We have the problem we've got in front of us. That's our main problem. Okay, that's why I'm looking at that situation. I'm not even bothered with that other thing. They will take care of that. That was part of me, and the message I got initially was get the rock, you know. And the reason I got this job was because I was taking care of the other one anyway. So those unresponded matters by the Australian Federal Government will be dealt with. So that's why I don't worry about that anymore. They will take care of that. that'll be resolved one way or the other. I would suggest moving on what they've suggested as quickly as possible. Be a far better option than being quiet. I'm not looking for fame nor fortune. That's why these videos have always gone up straight away. I've always had an inkling that they were extremely important, that I was on to something that needed to be solved for a reason, and now I know why. I mean, it's a very critical thing, so I'm really glad I probably persisted. There are times, like I said, I've nearly packed up and walked away because of your, well, I don't know, what's the word? Insolence. Is that the word? Your arrogance. Not even to write a letter to say, okay, Mr. Whitten, thank you very much, we appreciate it. You know, only because even now you even know everything else is true and real. It's just a hidden thing. Look, we can't afford to hide this any longer. And you will personally, without doubt, this wave hits, that is the number. I'm absolutely certain. If the situation be that the 17 disappears off the rock after this, that we've come to the terms that everything that I've got correct off that rock every time those marks have disappeared. One other matter, the other reason why we discussed what landmass was moved in the last event was the waterway was cleared above the continent of Australia, so that's exactly why it was done, so that the water had passage through above Australia. They needed you to know that that's exactly why that happened. And like I said, the 17 I would expect, if we do nothing and the people are left where they are, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of them are people on your side of the fence near the coast. If that's your side of the fence. My side of the fence, well, I live inland. It's the first time I've ever lived inland in my entire life. I've always lived on the coast. For some reason I just got an inkling to move north and move inland. Now I know why. Whether I'm far enough inland at 20 to 30 kilometres, I would expect not. I would expect my house to be washed away on that very day. I will certainly make sure come Christmas Day I will not be anywhere near my house. I want to be over the other side of the Great Divide. I would expect, like I said, sir, that they are telling me that the option and a way to deflect the waves is possible, but that sort of assistance will only be given when you do your job properly, sir. I will finish off with these videos. Like I said, I do not see and expect the going out, putting the images that you've seen in this video on the back of a truck in a public area as a means to spread the story, a very diplomatic move at all, sir. I expect you better from you, or anybody for that matter. That'll finish me off for quite some time. I've got a book to complete and a few movies to make, to put on a CD, so that's what I've got to do. I'll go about doing that. I would expect something back within a few days in writing, sir. That's exactly what not only I expect, somebody else expects that as well, I would expect. I'll leave you with that. Thank you very much for everybody else. Like I said, I'm not under any misconception of the management of my YouTube channel, by the way, either. Neither are they. Thank you very much, everybody else, if there is anybody else. Have a nice day. This is Brian Whitten and ET Art, and I've just left you with an image of my heater because once again I think it is probably 3 AM, and it's probably time I finished off getting up at 3 AM to do these videos, in the hope that the man the messages are sent to is listening. This is Brian Whitten and ET Art. Thank you very much. Bye.